Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome along to the the 2nd January Planning Committee meeting this month. And first of all, ask Pontius to read out the notice and summons the meeting. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members. You are hereby summoned to attend the special meeting of the Planning Committee, which is to be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council Chamber here in Derry Road, Strabane, on Wednesday, the 22nd of January, 2025 at 2 p.m. Attendance list. Alderman Keith Kerrigan.
Online branches.
Thank you. Alderman Neary McMorris.
Online.
Thank you. Alderman Janice Montgomery. Back there. Councillor John Boyle.
Present online.
Thank you. Councillor Caroline Devine.
Sure.
Councillor Sean Fleming.
And Shaw.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Gallagher.
And Shaw.
Thank you. Councillor Christopher Jackson.
And Shaw.
Thank you. Councillor Fergal Leonard.
And Shaw.
Councillor Patricia Logue.
And Shaw online.
Thank you. Councillor Sean Mooney.
Here.
Councillor Patrick Murphy.
And Shaw.
Councillor Martin Riley.
Online.
Thank you. Councillor Grace O'Neillis.
And Shaw.
Thank you. Just to go back to Alderman Janice Montgomery. No. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pontius. I just want to read out the broadcast statement for today. So I'd like to remind everyone physically present at this meeting or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. The broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with their protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you're consented to being filmed and to use and storage of those images for broadcasting and training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. And a copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on the Council website, www.derrystrabane.com. Okay, so moving on to item 4 on the agenda, declaration of members' interests. Is that Councillor Devine?
Chair, just as a Derg councillor, I'm on the steering committee for the Derg Active steering group. Although I haven't attended any of those meetings, I'm going to declare an interest in terms of the Mitchell Park application.
Thank you, Councillor Devine. Have we any other declarations of members' interest, please?
Chair, apologies, I didn't put it in the chat box. Alderman Kerrigan here. I would be minded of that as a similar declaration of interest as Councillor Devine there, sitting the Derg Active Steering Group in regards to the application coming up for Mitchell Park.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Kerrigan. Have we any other declarations of interest? Okay, sure. If you go along and you feel that you do have something to declare, you can say at the time just before we go into the planning application. Okay, members, moving on now to Chair's business. Just a couple of things. First of all, to mention, there's late items have been received for applications 1 and applications 2. You would have received these in emails over the last 48 hours or so. And just in fairness to everybody, I'm just going to take 5 minutes now for members to read through these. Thank you. Okay, members, in the chamber and online, I hope you find that time useful. So if you've need for the time and if we come to particular items, you can just let me know. I just want to confirm the running order for you is as in your notes is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 in that order. Any other items under chairman's business, either in the chamber or online? Councillor Neelis?
Grammy Agatha for let me in. As a councillor in the Foylside area, I have been continuously contacted by concerned residents in particular areas about the rising number of HMOs, both regulated and unregulated. And as a party, we share their concerns and we empathise with them. Expansion of the university is key and a priority for the city, but it needs to be in harmony with the community who already live in this area. The University Task Force recognises this themselves and have highlighted concerns and capacity issues in some streets in and around the university area. We need to be conscious of the impact that the expansion of the university has and ensure that residents have their say on the residential character of their area. Some of these residents have been living here, for generations, and they are really feeling it at the minute. So I just felt that this needed to be brought up and highlighted. In light of this, and in the interim phase until the local planning policy stage is adopted, I am proposing on behalf of Sinn Féin that when planning officers are assessing applications on any HMO, that if they feel that it will take the amount of HMOs to over 10% on that particular street, that they would bring it into planning committee for decision. Grammy Agat.
Thank you, Councillor Neelis. Can I confirm that's a proposal you're making?
Chair, I'm happy to second that.
Second from Councillor Jackson. So members, here's a proposal in front of the committee that when officers are assessing HMOs, and it could take the number over 10%, that it comes into planning committee for consideration. Paraphrasing you correct there, Councillor Neelis?
Yeah, so until the local planning policy stage is adopted, that any applications that come in for HMO where the planning officers feel that it is taken at above 10% on that particular street, that the application comes into planning committee.
Okay, members, so we have a proposal in front of us. Hope everybody has, members online have heard that clearly. Since a proposal, we'll need to go to a vote on this. Francis, can I ask you to take a vote on this, please?
Chair, John Boyle here. I've got my hand up there.
Sorry, Alderman Kerrigan, go ahead.
No, it's John Boyle, Chair.
Sorry, Chair, John's in front of me.
Go ahead, Councillor Boyle.
Thanks, Keith. Chair, look, I wouldn't mind a bit of a legal opinion on how we progress this, just so we can be sure we can actually do what's being proposed. And secondly, can we actually see the wording of this up on the screen as well, please?
That's a fair question, Councillor Boyle. Philip, would you be fit to give us a reading on that? And we'll get that typed up for you on the screen, Councillor Boyle, as well.
Yep, Chair, the legal position is reasonably straightforward in that the starting point is obviously that all matters are dealt with by council stroke committee rather than by officers, and therefore if members wish the matter to come back before any particular matter to come back before a committee, then there's no issue in relation to that. As officers, we'll look at the practicalities of the implementation of any proposal that comes forward, as we always would, but there's no legal impediment to this whatsoever.
Councillor Boyle, anything you want to raise after that explanation?
That's fine. That's clear enough. If we could just see the wording there on the screen, Chair, and then I'm sure we can move to the vote then. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Boyle. We're just getting that prepared at the minute, and then I'll come to you then, Alderman Kerrigan.
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing me in. To be fair, it was going to be just along the same line as Councillor Boyle had stated there, just to see in regards to the LDP, in regards to legally, given our protocol, what format are we able to do what has been asked of? I do HMOs have always been a sensitive issue, and I realise that as a rural councillor, it's not affecting my end of things as much. But it is it's the case then as well, Chair. I'm just asking, I suppose, a question following on. There was an email on the 20th of January, just a few days ago, went out to, I don't think it went to every member of the planning committee, but I'm just wondering, did the officers get opportunity to see that email as well? Was raised in regards to HMOs also. So just a point on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Alderman Kerrigan. We'll try and get you an answer to that whenever we're waiting here for the words to go up on screen. Alderman Kerrigan, would you be able to see who the email was from? So after to make sure. Or could you send it maybe to Ponches here?
Yeah, I sorry, I was looking through. I did go to yourself too, Chair, but it had come from a resident, and it went to John Kelpie. But I'll forward it on to Ponches here now. But it's again raising just issues in regards to HMOs.
Okay, Alderman, we'll try and get you an answer to that now in a couple of minutes. Just whenever we're waiting, has any other members any? Yeah, the wording's on the screen now. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Chair. And I just wanted to point something out because on the back of some of the discussions in relation to HMOs. And I know that we want to make it very clear that the intention of this isn't specifically in relation to HMOs. It's around the integrity of our local policies plan. We recognise that there is a need for HMOs as part of the university expansion, but also housing solutions for the huge homeless crisis that we have. But there's our local policies plan is the place where the discussion should be taken in relation to the adequate positioning of HMOs, and we feel that there's a potential that applications could prejudice our local policies plans or members' views in relation to the local policies plan, and on that basis, there's this request is being made. So I just wanted to clear that up in case there was any uncertainty. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Gallagher, I'll take your question now.
Thank you, Chair. Just on what's up on the board, should this proposal not be coming, as a proposal on behalf of the planning committee, rather than like as a political party? Like we've been asked to vote on behalf of Sinn Féin by the look of this motion, and I'm not sure if that's correct procedure.
I think the proposal is written up here from the proposer and everybody. Councillor Neelis just didn't get you there. Just say it again. Back to you, Councillor Gallagher.
That's fine. Yep. Remove that.
Don't know if you heard that or not, Councillor Gallagher. We can move that reference to the party name.
Happy enough, Chair. Thank you.
Does that deal with your comment clear?
It does indeed. Yes.
Thank you. This is a very important point, so I just want to make sure all members, both in the chamber and online, have had their opportunity to make their points. As I say, it's on the screen there at the minute. I'll go to Councillor Mooney now.
Thank you, Chair. No, just to say, I don't have any issue with the proposal at all. I mean, all we're asking for is to bring in, applications that have that sort of target. So, like we aren't prejudging any applications. We stand here. It's just an indication as when or if an application sort of hits that metric, it'll be brought before committee. So I have no issue with that at all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mooney. I'm just going to go to punches and in response to your query there, Alderman Kerrigan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, that letter to John Kelpick, Chief Executive, it was received, and yes, I have seen it. It is my understanding that a letter of response has gone out to that or a very similar one shortly before that there from the Chief Executive addressing issues.
That's grand. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Prentice.
Thanks, Alderman Kerrigan. Can't see anybody else indicating to speak.
Sorry, Chair, I just took my hand up there, Fergal.
Sorry, Patricia, go ahead.
Yeah, just a wee query, Fergal. We would have got a delegated planning notification out there. I think it was Monday, could have been yesterday, but I think it was Monday. There was a HMO on it. Now, there wasn't a lot of detail of how many bedrooms or anything, and I was going to query that anyway. But I was just wondering, that is undelegated, and will that be included in this, or is it too late for this proposal?
I'll let Philip answer you on this one.
Yeah, Chair, through you, obviously the proposal is subject to ratification by full council, and therefore it may well be that we'll have to wait and see what the outcome of full council is, but obviously that's very close to planning committee already, and the agendas may overlap. I'm not sure, but if we maybe note that the members are of the view that they would like this to be brought before committee at the minute.
Yeah.
And we'll make a note of it, and if it's possible, and this is ratified by the council, we'll do it. But I'm afraid, Patricia, you've caught me out ever so slightly, and we'll have to do a few internal machinations around that.
Okay. Just when I'm on this committee now anyway, instead of emailing, if somebody could take note, if they could maybe just email me a wee bit more detail of what that HMO entails, you know, how many bedrooms, etc., etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Logan. Just want to bring punches in at this stage.
Thank you, Chair. I take it, Councillor, that's the list of new applications that came in. It was this week.
Yes, it was circulated on Monday, I think. Yeah.
So that is a list of new applications just in last week.
Any
of the applications with that reference number there, they're all on the planning portal with all details of the plans and everything. So they're all available just to see what exactly they are. Hopefully it will be obvious from those plans.
Okay.
But certainly if you need any further clarification, yeah, please
I'll go on the
contact the
portal.
office.
That's fair enough. Thank you, Francis. I'll do that. Okay.
Okay, members, just before I go to vote, final call, is anybody else that wants to raise any points?
Again, I did have my hand up there.
Go ahead, John.
Yep, thanks, Chair. Yeah, Chair, just look, I apologize if this sounds a bit like I'm being a pedant here, but when you actually read the first line of this, it seems like it's disconnected from something that might have been written before it. I don't know if all I can see is in light of this, that's where it starts, and I think it's a bit obvious, but in light of what exactly? For the record, I think we should probably be clearing that up so that, you know, they'll know exactly what it was that we were discussing and why we might have made the decisions that we've made.
No problem at all, John. We'll get clarification on this now from the proposer. Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks for pointing that out, John. I was caught in the hop when I had to copy and paste it over. So that was the notes that I'd written myself for talking on this subject today. So the in light of this was basically in light of what I had talked about regarding the concerns and the conversation that was brought up by the University Task Force. So I'm happy for that first line to be taken out there and just start it with, I propose that until the local planning. So council proposes, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, members, is everybody satisfied with the wording of that now?
Chair, just to say yes, thanks to Grace, and that's certainly much tidier now. Okay, I don't know exactly. I didn't know anyway, but I just wanted it to be clear for any reader, you know, because obviously it's only us in this meeting mostly. Okay, thank you, Chair.
No, that's grand, John, so it is. Okay, members, so we have a proposal that has been seconded in front of us. And I want to go to a vote on this now at this stage. And I'd like Pontius to take a vote, please. Do we have anybody to send? Maybe quicker. Indicate now if there's anybody to send to this.
Chair, just to say I'm entirely content to proceed as suggested in the motion. Yep, 100%.
Content, Chair of the proposal put forward. Thank you.
So my Chair, I'm
Chair.
content.
All right, thank you. So we can take it then that there's been unanimous support and we don't need to go to vote then. Thanks very much for the discussion on that. Thank you. Okay, members, we're moving on to the planning applications that are in front of us today. And the first one is L11 bar 2023 bar 1916 bar F. And this is proposed redevelopment of Mitchell Park. And Rosie is going to take us through this one. Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. LA11 2023 1916F is the proposed redevelopment of Mitchell Park to provide multi-sports synthetic pitch with floodlighting, fencing to the pitch boundary.
Excuse me, Rosie, my apologies. Alderman Kerrigan would need to go into the lobby at this stage online as possible.
That's all right.
Thank you. Apologies, Rosie, there. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So members, item 1 is LA11 2023 1916F. And I'm just going to show you the map or the layout plan here because it's for the proposed redevelopment of the site to provide a multi-sport synthetic pitch with floodlighting, fencing to the pitch boundary, ball stop nets, hard standing spectator area. Sorry. New coaching room with adjacent to the existing pavilion, additional equipment storage and the development of a new community trim trail with items of outdoor exercise equipment, associated site development works to include soft and hard landscaping, all services plus modifications to the existing parking provision and vehicular access. And the site is located at Mitchell Park at 26 Lower Strabane Road, Castlederg. The recommendation from officers is to approve the development, and the application is before you today as it falls under the category of major development. Council is the applicant and more than 5 objections have been received. So this site shows is just the site location map, and as this aerial view shows, there's 2 existing pitches at Mitchell Park at present, and these are grass football pitches. From this slide taken from the car park, you can see that the pitch itself is at a lower level than either the car park or the southern boundary to the River Derg. And just in terms of the site context, so to the north, we have the existing car park and the existing pavilion building, which provides us changing rooms. There's residential development along the Lower Strabane Road. At the southern boundary, we have the River Derg, and it is defined by an existing flood defence. There's zoned open lands to the, or open space, sorry, to the east of the development, and there to the west of the photograph are existing commercial properties. So the slide just summarises all the planning policies that are detailed in the planning report. And in terms of the consultation responses, just in summary, there's no objections, but where relevant, these will be discussed in the planning report. So we've received a number of representations, both letters of objection and support. In terms of the letters of objections received, and sorry, members, just to note, they, as you know, they are available to view in full in the planning portal. In terms of the objections received, just in summary, these relate to parking and traffic congestion, the appearance of the development, site selection and consideration of alternative sites, loss of an existing play park to the north of the pitches, consideration of the site should have been classified as a local landscape policy area. In the LDP 2032, there's a requirement to protect all existing open space. The land zoned from open space to the east of the site is in private ownership and in agricultural use. The wildlife and environmental impact, including the impact of using a synthetic surface for the pitch, any financial implications to the council of laying synthetic pitch, and subsequently having to replace this with an eco-friendly surface, increased flood risk, loss of privacy and overlooking due to the proximity of the trim trail, noise and light pollution impacts, impact on the Ardgort B&B, and then there's the late items that are before you today, which in summary relate to accuracy of plans that we've received, privacy and overlooking, increased flood risk and construction risk, and I'm going to come back to those during the presentation. In terms of support, people supporting the application have advised that there's no local 3G pitches in Castle Derg. This facility would ease pressure on grass pitches at local clubs. The addition of the walkway will significantly enhance the greenway provision, adding widely to the community facility. A modern multi-purpose room will also provide an excellent indoor space for a variety of community activities. The new and upgraded facility will allow for development of local football teams, including youth and junior teams. The improved facilities can aid social and economic improvement. The new facilities improve the local area's public image. Local clubs feel neglected by the lack of facilities in their area and a need to travel to Strabane, Irvinstown or Omagh to make use of floodlit pitches, and the health benefits of the proposed development are cited. So members, this slide just summarises the issues that are covered in the planning report and the matters that are material to consideration of the planning of the application of the proposed development, and I'm going to go through each of these matters in turn. So in respect of supporting good design, you'll be aware from the report that the existing pitch will be infilled, and the grass surface will be replaced with synthetic surface, and the pitch will be enclosed by fencing, and there'll be floodlighting erected. And it's also proposed to provide a community room here to just beside the existing pavilion building. And we've considered then the overall design and appearance of the development. So we acknowledge that Mitchell Park will be altered by this development, and this is a matter of concern that's raised by the objectors. So we balanced the visual, officer to balance the visual impact against the fact that the site already provides playing pitches and that its use contributes to improving health and well-being. So in providing a pitch that is for both soccer and GAA, it creates and enhances shared space. And given the wider benefits of the improved sporting provision to a broader spectrum of community groups, the visual impact of the redeveloped pitches is considered acceptable in this urban location. In respect of residential amenity, we've given consideration to noise, floodlighting, frequency of the use of the pitch, privacy and overlooking, and antisocial behaviour. In respect of noise, in respect of all these issues, really, we've considered that the nature of the development, given that Mitchell Park is an existing sports facility which provides 2 playing pitches at present, and this will be reduced to 1 pitch under the current proposals. In respect of noise generated by players, spectators and match officials, this is an existing feature of sporting's provision at this location. And whilst the synthetic surface and floodlighting will mean that the pitch can be used more frequently than at present, the pitch is subject to restricted hours of use each week to maintain the 3G surface, and there'll be a requirement to book the pitch before it's used. As I said, the new floodlighting is proposed, and whilst the site is in the urban area with street lighting along the lower Strabane Road, there's no floodlighting at the existing playing pitches at present, and it's now proposed to provide 8 floodlighting columns, which are 18 metres in height. Now, this was a concern to the objectors, and it was also a concern to NIEA in respect of any impact on wildlife. And so we've had a number of iterations to the lighting proposals, and the plans that are now acceptable demonstrate that light spread is pretty much restricted to the pitch. That doesn't mean you won't see it, but it shouldn't cause an amenity issue to residents. And lighting is also proposed to the car park and around the trim trail, and the lighting to the trim trail can be activated as required rather than coming on and staying on. So, as I say, these indicate that light spread will be largely confined to the areas of the pitch and the car park and walkway. And officers have considered the concerns raised by the objectors and the responses that we've received from environmental health and respective impact on residential amenity. And it's considered that the lighting plans demonstrate that residential amenity will not be unacceptably impacted. In respect of the proximity to the trim trail causing overlooking of number 24, you'll see from the objection letter or the letter of concern received just today that a number of points are set out by the objector in respect of that. The first one just states that the report says that the closest part of the development to number 24 is 34, the site, number 24, sorry, is 34 metres from the pitch. But as you measure, it's probably unclear from the report, and I apologise for that, but the nearest property boundary to the facility is actually at number 32, which is directly north of the actual spectator area, which is shown on plan. I'll just show you here. So number 32 is this property, and directly south, this is the spectator area. This designated or shown on plan. Now, this is number 24 here, and from the property boundary to the site is about 19 metres as it's stated. And whilst it's shown here that anyone attending the match probably could stand in this location, but they could probably do that anyway, because as I say, there are 2 pitches here, and this is the closest pitch to number 24. So spectators could already stand in that particular area. Just going to go back here to the other matters that the pitch use for matches is probably restricted, as we're advised by the applicant, to 1 or 2 matches per month. So the main attendance will be for training purposes, and it's not likely that that will attract significant numbers of spectators. The objector then goes on to cite concern that the trim trail is proximate to number 24 and that the ground levels will be raised. But as we measure them off the plans that show the increase in ground levels at the point, apologies members, I'll just go back to that plan. So the closest part of the trim trail to number 24, as we measured there, is about 9 metres. And at this point, the ground levels are already raised, as you can, and the infill of the pitch will only result in that ground level by being raised by 0.048 metres. So it's negligible. It's virtually the same ground level as is there at present. Now, the objector then says that there's photographs mentioned in the planning report that don't appear to be included, but these are actually photographs that there's a reference to photographs provided by the actual objectors themselves rather than photographs that officers have taken and neglected to include in the report. I'll just go on to the third objection raised today in respect of construction risk, and the objectors have asked that the objectors have asked that no construction vehicles access the existing laneway between their property and leading down to the pitch, which just from this plan comes down this area here. So members or officers consider that a condition can be attached if members think that appropriate, requiring that all construction works and associated vehicles to and from the site during construction shall be via the existing car park entrance, and we consider that's a reasonable and enforceable condition. Just move on now to the matter of flooding. So the site is beside the River Derg, and it's within the defended floodplain of the river, and it's protected by a flood defence structure which Rivers Agency confirm is structurally sound. Because it's proposed to raise levels of the pitch, DFI Rivers required an assessment of how the infilling of the pitch would impact neighbouring properties if the flood defences were to fail. So in this regard, the applicant submitted a report advising that infilling would cause flood levels to increase by 49 millimetres if flood defences were to fail, but they conclude no significant impact on neighbouring properties. So DFI Rivers considered that report and also carried out their own modelling for both the present day flood risk and climate change scenarios. And their results show that whilst there'd be a small increase in the flood extents, as shown by this plan here, the light blue area. So this plan shows the existing extent of flooding if the flood defences were to fail. And these very light blue areas, I don't know if you can see those in that plan, shows just the increased extent, but no additional properties would be affected by that. And DFI Rivers estimate that the maximum increase in flood depth would be 40 millimetres if the defences did fail. But they point out that the flood defences already mitigate the main risk of flooding from the River Derg, and the defences are structurally adequate. They're inspected and maintained by Rivers Directorate, so flood defence failure is unlikely. And on this basis, Rivers Agency do not feel that they could sustain an objection to the proposal under policy FLD1 of PPS 15. So the site is also subject, members, to surface water flood risk, and the applicants advise that this is likely to occur when water levels in the river are higher than ground levels within the pitch, which prevents discharge of water to the River Derg. And in addition, the existing outfalls to the river are submerged when the river levels are high, and this allows water to back up and basically rise within the pitch. So this results in frequent postponement of matches in the autumn and the winter months. So the proposal seeks to improve this position or this situation by providing raised levels, raising the ground levels and providing a subsurface drainage solution which will retain water during storm events. And the drainage pipe to the River Derg, which is shown by this just arrow here, will be raised higher so that the water can more effectively be released into the Derg. So this attenuation system has been sized to provide sufficient capacity to hold storm water in the network during storm events, and it can then be released after the storm event via gravity outfall to the Derg. Rivers Agency have considered this proposed drainage network, and they consider that it has been demonstrated that if it's designed and constructed as has been indicated in the drainage assessment, that the drainage network is feasible. Further issue is out of sewer flooding, which is emanating from NI water infrastructure further down the Lower Strabane Road. And the objectors have raised this as a concern. They have cited it again today in the latest objection. And the consideration that we've given is in respect of the advice that NI Water are now going to provide a pumping station on the Lower Strabane Road, and it has been confirmed that whilst Work was due to start in December. That was slightly delayed due to procurement issues, but it is due to go ahead. NI Water have confirmed this, and it should be completed by the end of this financial year. So the objectors there have asked that there's a condition be attached that no works commence on site until that pumping station is delivered. As you'll be aware, there's 6 tests for a condition, and as officer team doesn't consider that it would be reasonable to impose a condition which places the applicants in a position whereby they're dependent on the actions of a third party. So we're satisfied that NI Water have confirmed that the works will go ahead this financial year. And it is also the case that, as just described, there is the subsurface flood storage system to be put in underneath the pitch. So if there's any water gets onto the pitch from the Lower Strabane Road, that drainage system should assist in containing some of that water. Again, that would depend on I suppose, the size of any flood. A further issue that's raised is in respect of policy FLD2, which requires the protection of flood defences and drainage infrastructure. This policy requires that there's a maintenance strip provided between the development and the flood defences. To this, in this regard, we've received 2 drawings, drawing 02 revision 5 and 18 revision 1, which show the location and the extent of the maintenance strip to be provided. And it's set out before you in the late item. The objectors consider that these drawings are not accurate. So we have asked the applicant team and DFI Rivers to consider the drawings again. And this drawing just shows a cross section from the pitch through the trim trail to the maintenance strip, which is proposed against the flood embankment. So whilst there is slight encroachment onto the embankment, it isn't going to impede operational effectiveness of the flood defence, and Rivers Agency are content that if the proposal is delivered with the distances that are stated on the drawing, that it won't impede any access they have for maintenance if and when required. Another concern raised was that the flood embankment assisted in protecting the flood wall, but Rivers Agency have confirmed that the embankment does not, that the flood wall is the defence and it's not reliant on the earth bank to be fit for purpose. So in respect of increasing the site levels and bringing material onto the site, we've considered the policy under PPS 11 in terms of land improvement, and both the objectors and NIEA have asked for, or given further consideration to the fact that this pitch will be comprised of rubber crumb. So NIEA wanted an assurance of how the rubber crumb would be prevented from getting into the river, and we've been provided with a number of mitigation measures to prevent this. They're set out in the report, and they include kickboards to the full perimeter of the pitch, microfilters, a silt trap, and a reduced amount of rubber crumb will be used over and above what the industry standard would recommend. Moving on then to the issue of sewage disposal. NI Water had indicated that there would be incapacity on the foul sewer. The applicant had undertaken an assessment of the capacity and submitted a report to NI Water, and they are satisfied that measures for storm offsetting can be undertaken, and they've recommended conditions. NI Water have recommended conditions. In respect of natural heritage issues, we've had several reports in respect of natural heritage, and these have been considered by NIEA, Lochs Agency and Shared Environmental Services, and they've also considered, as have all the other consultees, all the objectors' concerns. NIEA are content that there'll be no impact on the European designated site, which is the River Derg, and that the proposal is not likely to result in unacceptable adverse impact on species protected by law, and this is again subject to conditions. In respect of access and parking, DFI Roads were consulted, and they considered that regarding traffic generation, they've noted the objectors' letters and photographs that there's an issue with traffic congestion along the Lower Strabane Road when the pitch is being used, but given that the there's a reduction from 2 pitches to 1. This is likely to be alleviated. The proposed facility takes into account the need of people with disabilities by providing more accessible spectator area and dedicated parking. The plan show an improvement in visibility displays from the existing car park onto the Lower Strabane Road, so safe access can be achieved. And regarding parking, there's going to be an increase from 17 spaces to 44 spaces. And we have given consideration to the parking provision under the parking standards document, as set out in the planning report, and considered the parking is likely to be adequate, and parking that's anyway taking place along Lower Strabane Road is already an aspect of the existing facility. HED have considered impact on historic environment and recommended a condition for a programme of archaeological works. So to conclude, members, having considered all the development detail, the consultation responses and the objectors' concerns, on balance, the proposal is considered to be acceptable, subject to the contingent conditions set out in the report before you. Thank you.
Okay, Rosie, thank you very much for that report. Members online, I can't see everybody's name on the screen, so I'll not be able to see if you got your hand raised. So if you can put in the chat, use the chat box facility if you want to ask any questions or make any comments. Thank you. Members, just to let you know that Mr. Neil Jenkins from Rivers Agency is online if you have any questions for him whenever we come to that particular stage. I'd like to invite Tony Quinn, Raymond Lowry and Kieran Donaghy, who are here on behalf of the applicant, to come forward here to the chamber.
Yeah.
Okay, members, for your own information, Tony's here on behalf of the applicant, Raymond on behalf of the council, and Kieran is project engineer. And Raymond, are you speaking on behalf of the three years? Just behalf of the council, yeah. Well, between the 3 years, gentlemen, you have 5 minutes, and just before about 4.5 minutes, I'll ask you to wind up. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Just to introduce myself, I'm Raymond Lowry, employed by the Strategic Investment Board, and been asked to manage the Derg Active project on behalf of the council. Just as a summary of the council's project, it is a £6.5 million LUF funded project. Just to reiterate, I suppose, on what Rosemary has said in letters of support, there is a strategic need within the council for improved pitches, and that was the core part of our funding application. It has been supported by the Levelling Up Fund, and that need then has been proven. So this is core, probably 50% of the project value of the whole Derg Active project. There's 4 elements to it. There's the public realm in Castle Derg. There's the Castle Park new play park. There's greenways out at Dergview, and I'd say the Mitchell Park is the 4th element. So it's a complete regeneration and improvement to a very derelict rural town. At the need for the Mitchell Park, I suppose, it is grass pitches, as Rosemary had indicated. It's supported by at least 5 teams of 46, or 5 clubs with 46 teams. So there's approximately over 1,000 people needing this facility. And at present, it's not fit for purpose, that they're having to go out of town in hours of wet weather, obviously pitch not playable and what have you. So it's just really to reinforce the pitch itself, the need for it. And I suppose council have engaged with the planning consultant, Tony, here, and he'll take any questions that members may have on a technical issue, supported by Kieran Donaghy.
This application has been before the council for over 1.5 years now, including the 3-month pre-application community consultation process. And the length of that determination period is testament to the level of scrutiny it's undergone by officers, consultation bodies, and indeed objectors. In terms of the acceptability of the proposal, it's in accordance with regional and development plan policy to retain and enhance recreational open space. It also complies with flood risk policy in terms of satisfying the exceptions test, and that you can build on previously developed land that is equipped with a flood defence, which this site is. This notwithstanding, DFI Rivers insisted on adopting a worst case scenario, assuming a breach in those walls. And even in the light of the modelling evidence that we presented, they did not see any reason to refuse the application. This is understandable given the number of flood mitigation measures that have been proposed. Rosie has mentioned about the drainage improvements and the water storage under the 3G pitch, and indeed the pumping station that is going to be activated in the Lower Strabane Road. Moreover, the technical oversight of this application is going to continue during the construction period. We have to obtain Section 46 consent from the Rivers Agency, or sorry, the Lochs Agency when we do any works to affect the riverbank. We also have to submit a final construction environmental management plan, which will embody all the safeguards to protect residential amenity in relation to dust, noise, and vibration. So, to conclude, the principle of this application is not in question, and indeed the technical aspects of it have been thoroughly examined and indeed addressed, and viewed in that context, I would commend this application to the council. Thank you for your time.
Okay, gents, thanks very much. I'd like now to open it to the floor if any members in the chamber or any members online have any questions for three gentlemen. Councillor Jackson.
Good Chair, and these are very welcome, and I suppose I want to thank yourselves for the endurance and keeping with this project, because I know it's been considerable amount of time. But just on your final point, in relation to a construction management plan, I know, and I just can't find that there was quite a lot of related information, but there was, but one of the issues that had been highlighted by objectors was in relation to the construction management, in particular the cut and fill and I just wouldn't mind a wee bit more information in relation to how residential amenity is going to be protected during the construction phase. Is there any way you can elaborate on that? Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Go ahead.
Sorry, what I would say in relation to the construction and environmental management plan, there's going to be finalised drainage drawings that would iron out any of these minutiae differences that seem to be in terms of the distances, that there seems to be a different interpretation from the objector and from the applicant in terms of distances involved. But in terms of the safeguards now, ordinarily they all have to be agreed with the contractor. But it involves a range of issues. It could be acoustic barriers, it could be noise suppression on works equipment, agreeing the hours of operation. All of that has to be threshed out with the contractor, and it's always to the satisfaction of the objectors.
Mr. Jackson.
You see that? Thank you.
Have any other members in the chamber? Any members online? Is there any questions, please? Alderman Kerrigan. My apologies.
He's in the lobby. Fergal,
Apologies.
it's actually myself.
That's yourself. I just seen your name coming up there.
Thanks for letting me in, Fergal. I know there's been an emphasis on about the flooding and stuff, and kind of content that, you know, that basically that you're saying that there is no risk to the flooding aspects, but I just wanted to pick up a wee point. I was reading on one of the objection emails that came in, basically to say that there was like a lack of communication in order to address the issues that the objectors had raised. Is there any, I suppose, willingness for you to basically improve that communication and speak to the objectors in order to, I suppose, basically assure them that their objections are being looked at and that every effort has been made to mitigate any concerns that they had. I just wanted to see if that line of communication could be opened or has it been opened or whatever. But it was just, that's all I wanted to raise, and just about the flooding aspect. But I'm satisfied with the report on it. Thanks.
Canary, go ahead.
Just to reiterate, the objectors did attend the public event that was convened for the pre-application community consultation process. And I have to say, this application has undergone the rigors of an inquiry. I've been to a few inquiries in my day, and the level of attention that has to be paid to this by the case officer has been second to none. And in fairness to the officials, every time an issue surfaced, they were straight on to us by email. And sometimes you try to bluff matters, but we had to get to the bottom of everything. It always had to be ironed out. And I say, you can do no more. We have addressed every issue and comprehensively addressed all concerns, in my view, that is, and the team.
Alderman, that deals with your query. Satisfied?
Thanks. That does answer my query. Just when I came through as a late item today, and when I was reading it, that was one of the things that it highlighted. But yeah, I'm content that every measure has been taken place in order to update the public. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Is anybody else online? Want to ask any questions or make any comments? Has anybody any comments for Neil Jenkins, who's Rivers Agency, this online as well? No, thank you very much, Channel, and for attending today. Thank you. Okay, members, does anybody have any questions for the officers at the stage, please? Councillor Jackson.
I don't have a question, so if you wanted to hold off in case there was any questions, but.
Is anybody online? Is there any questions for officers? Okay, just one point there that's not in the planning report, and Rosie was doing her presentation. If you was thinking about a proposal, do you wish to or not wish to include about the vehicles using the other entrance, not the one beside the houses, to access the site? You remember Rosie referred to it in her presentation. Do you apply it as a condition?
Chair, I was going to suggest that as a condition when on the back of what Rosie did say. So I'll propose that we do that. Yeah.
Thank you, John. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, and I don't know, that was something I was alluding to when I was asking the question around the construction management plan, because I do see solutions in relation to some of the concerns that had been highlighted. But I just want to thank Rosie for the report. It was a very comprehensive report, and not only that, but in relation to some of the responses and very swift responses, delayed information, certainly provided me with a lot more clarity coming into the meeting in relation to, addressing some of the concerns that have been raised by objectors. But this is a council application. It's something that councillors or council have been made aware of with quite a considerable amount of fanfare in relation to the announcement of the Level 1 Up Fund. It's one sense it can be seen as frustrating that the process has taken so long to get to this stage, but when you see it laid out and you see the complexities of the site, you can see the issues that have been raised, and you can see, well, for me, that gives me the assurance that that they have been considered in great detail, and I completely agree with the recommendation and that's been laid out in front of us. The application is will significantly improve the area. It will significantly improve and support sport and recreation within the Derrick area. So I am, and in my view, considering all the planning policies that are in front of us, I can happily support the recommendation to approve this. So on that basis, Chair, I'm happy to propose that this committee support the recommendation and approve the application.
And can you just confirm that's with the additional condition Rosie talked about?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Can I have a seconder for this, please? Councillor Mooney, sorry, I think Councillor Mooney first there.
Chair, thanks very much, and just to say thank you to Rosie and everyone who presented the committee today. I attended the site visit last month, and I'm glad I did because it gave me a bit more insight into what the application was about and about some of the objections based on that, and along with yourself, Chair, and it was a good opportunity to discuss, what the actual merits of the application were and what was discussed in it. So, attending that site visit gave me a bit more idea about the ideas that were raised today, the flooding issues, and I had that printed off today, and I'm really glad because Rosemary had actually presented and had discussed all the conditions in that document that we received this morning. So based on that, and obviously based on what Councillor Jackson said, this is going to be a huge plus for the Derrick area. It's needed as it's been discussed, and all objections have been, as far as I'm concerned, have been listened to and have been actioned upon, and solutions, if there are any, have been sought after. So on that basis, Chair, I intend to second the applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mooney. So do we have a proposal and a seconder to accept the officer's recommendation to approve? Is there anybody dissenting to that? Can you indicate now, please?
Fergal, just to let you know that I had actually indicated to come in previously, Sean speaking, but it was just basically to second the proposal because I was happy enough that, all the objection issues was addressed by Thingy, but just to let you know that I had indicated to come in on it, but I'm happy enough that Sean has seconded it now.
I just can't see everybody's name on the screen to see their hand being raised. That's what I was asking for people to put it in.
I have it in the chat box, Fergal, but I'm happy enough anyway. Don't worry.
That's right. So I'll just ask again, is there any dissenting voices to this proposal?
Chair, just Councillor Riley online, but I'm happy to support the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, members, that seems to be unanimous there across the members to accept the officer's recommendation. Thank you very much. Can we just ask for Alderman Kerrigan and Councillor Devine to come back to join us in the meeting, please? Okay, members, we're moving on to application number 2, LE11 2024 0487 bar 0. This is for the Snarl Road, and Suzanne's taking us through this one. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Good afternoon, members. So this application is LA11 2024 0487, and it's a proposed outline application for 2 replacement dwellings and garages on lands approximately 320 metres north-northeast of 89 Lisnara Road, Dodamana, Strabane, and the recommendation is to refuse. So the first slide, members, is the location map on the left submitted with the planning application, and then we have provided you the satellite ortho. Just to confirm, no other plan has been submitted in relation to the site until last night when we did receive the existing dwelling footprint as from the agent. There's no proposed site layout or anything else at the moment. Also draw your attention to those photographs submitted in the late information. Those are 8 photos out of, I think, 16 that were originally submitted back in October as part of the planning application. So just to advise, officers have previously considered those photos and are aware of them. So this is the building in question. The building that is proposed to be replaced. Traditional roadside layout there, quite obviously an open site, but quite close to the road. Just some alternative views. The picture on the left is figure 5 in your reports, and the picture on the right is figure 6, looking back north along the road. And you can see just there's a wall in terms of the curtilage of the site as well. So the policy context on this slide is listed in your report. And in terms of consultation responses, there were no major issues. Conditions can achieve the road service requirements, and all the other consultation responses are in your report. So the fundamental policy assessment in this is the assessment of the principle of replacement. And that in that assessment, we're required to consider if the building exhibits the essential characteristics of the dwelling, and as a minimum, all external walls are substantially intact. So as you will have read in your report, officers felt that the existing building firstly did not reflect 2 existing dwellings on the ground. There was supporting information submitted from the agent and their assessment that it may have been 2 dwellings at one stage. There is evidence as well pointing to the census, but it is not clear that the structure was originally two dwellings. So on that basis, looking at the external walls, the next factor, clearly the building is structured into 2 parts. It looks like an existing dwelling on one side and possibly an agricultural outbuilding on the other side. The actual building itself, not all the external walls are substantially intact, and that's quite clear from the photographs, both the officer photographs, which I'm presenting to you today in the report, and also the photographs that the agent has submitted. There's just a photo of the back wall of the larger 2-story element of it, would not be considered substantially intact. There's no gable wall. There is a internal chimney stack in the larger part of the building. There's no internal walls or anything remaining to indicate any other layout. You can see some window openings there, and then as I say, the gable is gone, it's lost. So the policy is quite pointed in terms of replacement dwellings, and ultimately as well, we don't want buildings or proposals that will have a greater significantly visual impact. And then that leads on to the assessment under the integration policy and the rural character policy, whereby it's the officer position that the replacement of that structure with 2 dwellings and 2 garages, so the introduction of 4 buildings on that site, will have a greater significant visual impact. The site that you can see obviously has no defined boundaries bar the roadside hedge. There is some undulating land further south. But on balance, officers would be of the view that there would be not be sufficient integration. In terms of rural character as well, the introduction of 2 new dwellings and 2 garages on the side of the road would appear suburban on that very open and prominent site. So other normal usual considerations in terms of amenity and roads, those issues are resolved. There's no issues. And in terms of natural heritage, the site does lie within the Sperrin AONB, whereby there is a greater focus on the integration. And again, that takes us back to the integration policy, whereby we feel that this would be the creation of 4 buildings on this site would be significant. And PPS 15, there's no areas of flood risk identified. So in summary, the buildings to replace don't have all the walls remaining substantially intact. The curtilage is going to have to increase beyond what is existing at the moment, contrary to policy. There's not able to provide a suitable degree of enclosure and integration of the surrounding landscape, and the scale of the built form would definitely impact on the real character of the sensitive Sperrin AONB. And just to confirm, there's been no third-party representations received in respect to the proposal. So on that basis, officers have recommended refusal. And I'm happy to take any questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Just want to check with Andy Tate online on behalf of the agent. Are you there, Andy?
Hi there. Do you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you, sure, Andy. So, welcome to this planning committee meeting today. You have 5 minutes from now, and I'll give you, we shared about 4.5 minutes or so to ask you to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members, for the opportunity to speak today in support of this application. I submitted 2 documents as late items for you to view. One document is a floor plan of the 2 dwellings, and the other is photographs of the properties. As you are aware, CTY 3 of PPS 21 states plan permission will be granted for a replacement dwelling where the building is to be replaced exhibits the essential characteristics of a dwelling. As a minimum, all external structural walls are substantially intact. For the purpose of policy, all reference to dwellings will include buildings previously used as dwellings. The site itself is a building on the Lisnard Road just outside Donaghmana. The site sits outside any settlement defined in the Strabane area plan. The site, as applied for, sits within a large field adjacent to the roadside. The buildings on it are vacant and can be clearly seen from the road. The site, as applied for, does not have any specific constraints that would prevent approval of this type of development. The site is not within any identified floodplain or similar type of constraint. The impact of the removal of the structure upon protected species has already been considered and found acceptable. Going by the case officer's report, Appendix 2, the officer states, as demonstrated in Figure 4 above and Figures 5, 6 and 7 below, while some recognition is given to the minor details of the dwelling, characteristics on what is remaining at the southern element of the structure, such as a chimney stack, internal fireplace and first floor window placement, would indicate that this building was likely a dwelling at some point, as required in CTY 3. Given that the case officer is satisfied in respect of CTY 3 that the structure exhibits the characteristics of a dwelling, the key test in proving the application is acceptable remains to establish not only that the structure was used as 2 separate dwellings, but also that the structure exhibits the characteristics of 2 dwellings. Historic evidence has been gathered from a public office which demonstrates the structure has been in place since at least the 3rd version of OSNI. Whilst the OSNI data is not helpful in establishing site numbers for this structure, it does outline that the structure was present from at least 1900 and sat as per the map submitted adjacent to the Lisnard Road. Examination of historic census data allows that the 2 families lived in these properties. This domestic arrangement is reasonably common in Irish history. This is 2 families probably farming the same holding, with both head of their respective households and residing in modest accommodation, probably built at the same time. Extended families tended to live close in proximity, as it has provided security of tenure, as it allowed that there was always support within the farm holding and other domestic duties. The structure is a typical 1900 dwellings with single room width and linear construction. The building sits at a lower level and parallel to the road. This can be seen from your photographs. The building itself has had 2 chimneys at the midpoint of the dwellings. There's significant internal evidence of heavy party wall, which have been subdivided the properties. The 2 chimneys and heavy subdividing walls points towards the fact that this structure was erected as 2 separate dwelling units. When I had a meeting with the case officer, Council's main argument was that these dwellings were not substantially intact. This part of the policy is very subjective and open for personal interpretation. So to help with this, I visited the site again this week and measured the buildings on site. This is part of your late information document. From the floor plan that you have, you can see the walls showing in solid black lines and the walls now not there shown as dashed line. The plan clearly shows that the structure is substantially intact and clearly shows that the structure was previously 2 dwellings. The photos I provided hopefully clearly show members that these buildings are substantially intact. I hope we can bring this application to a positive conclusion today so my client can get on with the application. I'm happy to answer any queries. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for that. I just want to hand over to the members now if they have any questions for you. Anybody online has any questions for Randy?
Chair, could I come in just?
Yes, Councillor Ganner, go ahead.
Hi, how's it going? I'm just looking, and I'm back and forward here and back and forward. Do you see that the photos that's in the report and the photos that come in as late information? You nearly think we were looking at 2 completely different properties. Like the later ones look very much intact, and the photos in the report argue very much different to that, and I can't reconcile both sets of photographs. I'm wondering, can you help that out?
So just to make it easier for everybody, just confirm which photographs you're talking about in the late items and which photograph in the report, if you don't mind, please, Paul. Are you able to get us that information, Paul? I just asked who's on coming at this stage.
Councillor Gallagher, is it in the late information submission, photos 5 and photo 6, are those the photos that you're referring to? Because those photos do not show the complete extent of the building. Just for clarification, you'll see the complete extent of the building, which is included within the officer pack.
Just for clarification, Sean, which photograph in the officer pack?
Okay, so if you look at figure 5 in the officer pack, and that is the elevation of photos 5 and 6 of the late information submission.
Just Chair, on my head on the late photos, 5, 6, and 7 don't look like the photos in the report. That's my sense of it. And I'm taking it that there's front elevation and back elevation. But for the intactness of the building, they just don't appear to reconcile, in my head, like.
Thank you, Paul. We'll try and get you some clarification on this.
Okay, so photo, if it's the gable, the gable that's missing is the gable of the two-story element of the building, okay? So if you look at photo 5 in your pack, that's the rear elevation. So you can see the majority of that rear elevation is missing, as is that gable on that end of the site. Figure 6 in the pack is looking at the building in the different direction to photo 7. Does that make sense? Photo 7 is in the agent's lead information pack. That gable is the same gable if you're looking at figure 9 in the committee pack. Okay, sorry, beg your pardon, members. Yes, there's some confusion in the committee pack. There are 2 figure 5s. So if you look at figure 4, that is the elevation in the committee pack. That is the elevation that would equate with, let me get it now. That's not actually included in the. Yes, that is figure 4, photo 4 in the agent pack. Okay, and then figure 5 in the committee pack is looking at the building and the structure from the other end, from the lower end of the site.
Councillor Gallagher, does that help the understanding of the photographs?
Chair, I suppose it's the argument, like when you see one image, it looks very broken up, for want of a better word, and then the other one, it looks solid. So I suppose it's camera angles. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how would a site visit help any of this at all, because it's definitely conflicting in my head of whether this building is intact or not, because one image and one element just looks completely unintact, and another image, it looks, like there's at least 2 full sides to this building. Like that image there, that's on the screen, looks intact.
Thanks, Paul. I'll come back to you. Andy, I know this is questions for the agent. Is there anything you want to add at this stage about that query from Councillor Gallagher?
Yeah, see if you look at the floor plan I provided there. That's why I took the photographs, because I thought they were the case officers, they weren't the best angles, to be honest. That's why I visited the site and took them more recent photographs. But you see the floor plan there. To me, looking at that, like, I'm going to give my opinion, like it's personal opinion again, that looking at that, I would say that them 2 buildings are substantially intact. When you see the dotted lines, it's the walls that aren't there. That's my opinion. It's up to yourself to make your own opinion, but I would say that building is substantially intact, looking at them floor plans.
Thanks, Andy. Councillor Neelis.
I just have a wee question about the ordnance survey, if you don't mind. You see so we have the list of the register, and we have 9A and 9B, which you've starred. And then you see when you go over onto the map, 9A and 9B look to be in completely different areas. So can you just explain that to me a wee bit, please?
Yeah, well, the way I was trying to identify was, I think 9A was where they were trying to register the land, But you can see quite clearly there the buildings on there's no other buildings on that vicinity. So that clearly is the buildings that we're talking about. So it can't relate to anywhere else. So that's why the family is obviously resided there.
I'm just in my head, I'm wondering, if 9A is there and 9B is significantly, there's a good gap between them. Maybe was there a building there where 9B is identified and it's not there anymore? Or why, is there assumption that 9A and 9B were together? Or is that?
Yeah. Well, it's that old that would be an assumption, but you can see the building clearly on that map that's present there.
Yeah, I know, I do appreciate that, but that's the building for 9A, but 9B on the map is in a different area, so that's just why I'm questioning it.
Yeah.
So that answer your query, all right, Councillor?
To the best it could be, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I know we haven't resolved your photograph issue yet, Councillor Gallagher. Is there any other comments from anybody online or in the chamber here?
I'm happy to second Councillor Gallagher's proposal that we do a site visit on this, if that's agreeable to everybody.
Yeah, I suppose in my own opinion, I think in the interest of fairness to everybody and all the queries about the photographs probably would be very useful. So we have a proposal from Councillor Gallagher, second by Councillor Neelis for a site visit. Members, if you can indicate in agreement or not in agreement. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Chair. And I've absolutely no opposition to the site visit there, and I can understand the rationale for it. But I just want to state that from my own perspective, I have considered the information that's been in front of us. I do feel that the officer's report was detailed, significantly detailed. The agents, lead items and the photographs that were attached helped improve my understanding of it. But by agreeing a site visit, I am not calling into question in any way the quality of the information that was initially provided to us. I think there's I can understand the rationale, the logic behind a site visit, but I just wanted to state that from it's no reflection and the quality of the application and the reports, because I was and remain content to take a decision on this, but I can understand the reluctance of others, and so on that basis I wouldn't oppose the proposal for a site visit. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you for that. And yeah, the photographs are of a high quality. There's absolutely no issue with them. It's just in interest of fairness. Councillor Mooney.
Yes, Chair, thank you. Of similar vein to Councillor Jackson, I'm not going to oppose a site visit if members want that. There are some members who clearly desire a site visit just to probably cement their view on it. I think the photographs are fine. They reflect the test that's in question, substantially intact. I think both sets of photographs clearly show that I can make up my mind on it today, but as I say, I'm not going to indicate any judgment today, just as I'm not going to oppose a site visit. So, but thank you, Chair.
Any members online wish to speak about this at this stage?
Councillor Boyle here, Chair. No, look here, there probably is some merit in a site visit. I have no problem in supporting that myself.
In a similar vein, Chair, Councillor Riley here, happy with a site visit if that's what other members feel would be appropriate to help reach a conclusion in this application. Thanks.
Councillor Lowe here, happy to support too.
Yeah, Alderman Kerrigan, content enough for a site visit, Chair.
Alderman McMorris also content.
Okay, members. So we will arrange a date and send out details of a date as soon as possible and carry out site visit this. So thank you very much for attending today, Andy. Thank you. Okay, then we're moving on to number 3. This is LA 11 2024 0208 bar LBC. This is building consent for change of use from former military buildings, and Malachy is taking us through this one. Thanks, Malachy.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Item 3, LA 11 2024 0208 is an application for listed building consent for a change of use of former military buildings, including alteration and extension to provide a maritime museum, an archive, parking, landscaping, and associated works. And it's located at buildings 45, 46, and 49 Ebrington. And the recommendation of officers is to grant consent. To say the application site is quite a prominent set of buildings within the Ebrington redevelopment area. It's already been identified as a long-standing objective to redevelop these particular buildings for a museum. And you're aware from papers in our earlier committee in January that the DFA were dealing with a parallel reserve matters application for a renewal of a similar proposal for the change of use and extension of the buildings identified. And indeed, you were advised of a notice of opinion that was published on the 13th of December 2024 to approve the change of use for the reserve matters. The reserve matters application and this listed building application are effectively renewals of a previous application in 2021. And there was also a previous approval in 2016. So the application site, the buildings in question are set out here, 46 to 49. It'll also involve an extension and link building between the two major sets of buildings and a significant extension at the end of 49. And again, the red inserts here are helpful to show you an idea of the additions to the buildings. Anywhere in white is basically a change of use and internal alterations, and the red areas are new extensions. And again, that's a helpful image there to show you the context and set out of the new design and the new extensions. And it's just a few more images which are all contained in the report. It's the new extension towards the Ebrington Hotel end. And again, it's an overhead view of the site and extension. And this is a rear elevation from the Brown Drive direction. And you probably not see it very well on these slides, but that's the proposed layout of the ground floor level and the first floor level and second floor level. Policy context for the listed building consent is set out within the case officer report. The main policies they take into consideration are the RDS, the area plan, the SPPS, PPS 16, PPS 6, plan archaeology and the built environment, and in particular, in this case, extension alteration of a listed building and development affecting the setting of a listed building. And officers have also taken into account the draft plan strategy, the relevant policies, and have turned our mind to the relevant policies within the draft plan. So in terms of the background, the overall three-dimensional form, finished materials and designs, the same as previously approved in the previous applications. Again, as I alluded to, there's going to be a link block between 49 and 45 and 46. There's a number of new extensions at the rear of number 49 and a new extension at the gable end of 45, 46 over Ebrington Square. There'll be, as well as a museum use, there'll be other ancillary uses such as a cafe and the ground floor. So in terms of loss of consent, the main consultee is a statutory consultee. In this case, is a Historic Environment Division, and historic buildings are content with the proposals, subject to conditions. They acknowledge and welcome the minor internal changes to the scheme, which have retained some historic features which were removed under a previous approval, notably around the proposed temporary galley and galley spaces. And HED acknowledged that the submission is in effect of a renewal of the previous museum. So we acknowledge the parallel reserve matter application. Officers and HED believe a scheme will secure the retention, upkeep and reuse of a listed building. And as I said, we've turned our mind to the draft plan strategy and the judgment of officers. We wouldn't justify different recommendations from that being made under the current or under the retained plan policy context. So just for your information, they're also contained within the report. There's a number of proposed conditions relating to the time frame to carry out the listed building consent, specifying details and further drawings to be submitted for council approval and HED approval. And again, just set out which plans which would be approved under consent. So the officer's recommendation, taking into account the planning history, the policy context, the history of Edmonton, and the associated plan applications, is to recommend consent is granted for this listed building consent. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Malachy. We have no indicator speakers in this, so we'll go straight to questions for officers, please. Anybody online now? Any questions for Malachy or any of the officers? Go ahead, Councillor Jackson.
Chair, I don't have a question.
Go ahead.
Chair, this is again like similar to the Mitchell Park application. This is an application that's very familiar. The council and it's they also as council members, and it's here in front of us because it's a council application. But the museum at Edmonton Square is a key element of our citadel projects, and there's been various reports taken through committee, various update papers in relation to this, and it's something we're very familiar with. In relation to the listed building consent and the impact that this application could potentially have on Edmonton Square and the listed building, I am more than satisfied that it won't have a detrimental impact, as officers have outlined. The best way to maintain and preserve our built heritage is to bring them into use, and this is a perfect example of how we can protect listed buildings and our built heritage by having modern usage and encouraging footfall. And Edmonton Square as a whole is another example, a fine example of that. So this is in keeping with other developments in the local vicinity, and I'm more than happy to propose that we accept Malachy's recommendation to approve. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Jackson, can we have a seconder for that, please?
Happy to second, Virgo, needed.
Thank you. That's a proposer and seconder for that. So any dissenting voices on that one? No, thank you. That's consent granted. Thank you. Moving on to number 4, L11/2023/1214/F, proposed new 5G telecoms street walk mast at Dundrean Park, and Malachy is going to take us through this one as well.
Thank you, Chair. Item 4, LA11/2023 1214 is a full plan application for a proposed new 5G telecom streetwork mast and associated ancillary equipment cabinets at a grass verge off Fern Road and 27 metres northeast of 23 Dundrean Park. And the recommendation is to refuse. The application site is located in a grass verge just off a main distributor road through the Gallia area known as Fern Road. It's located on the grass verge site closest to the road. adjacent photograph to give you a better idea. So it's in this area, closest to the road. It's adjacent to 27 metres northeast of a residential property at Dundrain, and is also opposite an area of open space, which beyond that is a housing area known as Brookdale Park. The application itself is a monopole mast along with the cabinetry that you would associate with telecommunication masts. And again, these elevations will give you an idea in terms of the context of the elevations in a 2D sense. So the operator has advised us that this is the slimmest design possible for the multiple technologies that have to be supported from this site. They've also advised that because of the type of coverage required for 5G, that informs the height as well as the design of it also. And it'll be finished in steel with a powder coated finish in grey. The policy context is set out in the case officer report. It looks at the Derry area plan, relevant policies contained within the Derry area plan. In relation to the retained PPSs, the relevant policies are PPS 2, PPS 3, and in particular PPS 10, telecommunications. And with these type of applications, there's also associated planning guidance under the development control advice notes dealing with both telecommunications and access to roads. And we're also aware of the policy the policy provisions set out in the draft plan strategy. There have been 24 objections to the applications coming from 16 separate properties. These are contained and detailed within the case officer report and are available to view on the public access, plan public access. I've summarised them here for the purpose of committee today, and the main issues raised were separation distance to properties, residential properties, visual impact on the area, impacts on the value of property in the area, health risks from the proposed development, proximity to pensioners' bungalows, proximity to schools, lack of pre-application public consultation from the operator with local residents, perceived emissions from mass that's been a pollutant in the area, issues with the possibly attracting antisocial behaviour because of the location of the cabinets and the mass, failure to submit specifics regarding the mass, and intrusive impact on the landscape. So I suppose across the three main policies, there's relevant criteria set out within the Derry area plan, the SPPS and PPS 10, which very much echo each other in terms of the policy requirements and what decision makers are asked to consider in relation to telecommunication masts. Primarily, we're looking at the impact on visual amenity and in terms of siting of masts and then any sort of additional impacts in terms of natural heritage, built heritage, or traffic impacts. So again, it also provides further advice in terms of submitting a plan application. Operators are expected to examine the possibility of sharing existing masts and other structures, and they have to explain when a new mast is proposed why that represents a better environmental solution than the other options, such as sharing existing masts. In this particular application, a supporting statement was submitted. Sets out that there's a need for a 5G mast to enhance telecommunications in the general Gallia area. They carried a site selection process and have advised that, in their view, that this was the best possible location. And the reason they give for the other locations, which are detailed in the report, has been unsuitable related to issues with pavements and visibility display issues. In support of the application, which is a requirement of policy also, that they have submitted a declaration of conformity, known as a NICNERP certificate. We have consulted environmental health, and they've advised that in terms of exposures for the public, that they have no objections to the proposal. In terms of other amenity issues, the proposed cabinets, again, they're set out, they're 1 meter high, and they extend across a width of 5 meters. The mass is 50 meters. And I suppose they're described as both functional and topical of these types of development, and that we probably are used to seeing in our city landscapes at this stage. Environmental Health advised have no objections in terms of amenity. The proposal will not result in any noise nuisance, and given the distance between the site and the nearest residential properties, there will be no other adverse residential amenity impacts. In terms of access and roads issues, we have consulted DFA Roads, and DFA Roads have indicated that they have no objection in principle to the type of development. They believe that the location of the proposed equipment and the mast on the eastern verge of the footway reduces drivers' forward sight distance as they approach the Gallia roundabout to a level that's not acceptable and below the standards set out in the supplementary planning guidance in DCAN 14. They believe that there's better locations in the locality where it could be sited, which would not result in the same issues. However, given the constrained nature of the red line, we have to consider this proposal where it is. So they've given refusal reasons to officers, and these have been weighted in our recommendation today. We've also considered issues relating to natural heritage and environmental issues, and given the location, nature and scale of the proposal, officers have no concerns that the proposal will have any adverse impact or would be offend any policies within PPS 2, the Dairy Area Plan, PPS 15, and any of the SPPS. So officers are also aware of the emerging policy within the draft plan strategy, and we would not be in the judgment of officers to justify a different recommendation being made than that has been set out in our consideration of the existing policies within the retained suite of planning policies. So having considered all the material considerations, including the development plan, relevant plan policies, consultations and representations, officers are recommend refusal on the grounds that the proposal will prejudice public safety based on the DFA road recommendation that it will impinge on visibility for traffic for car users as they approach the roundabout. And the reason for refusal is set out in your report, and I've put it up here in the slide for you to view also. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Malky. Members, just want to let you know that Mr. Mark O'Neill from DFA Road Service should be online. Be online there, Mark. Mark O'Neill from Roads, are you there? Mark must have disconnected, but he was available to you for items 4, 5 and 6, so we will try him again. Any questions for Malachy or any officers from any members, please? Is anybody online? Has any questions for Malachy or any officers?
No questions from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So members, the recommendation to refuse this, if anybody makes any questions or proposals?
Chair.
I'll take them now. Go ahead, Councillor Murphy, and then Councillor Boyle.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Malky, for the report. I know the area well, and I can understand where DFA have an objection to this mast, So I'd like to recommend that we support the proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Boyle.
Yeah, fairly simple, Chair. Yeah, obviously you can see there's a very strong reason for the refusal, and so I'm content to second that proposal. Councillor Murphy, thanks.
Thank you, John. So, members, we have a proposer and a seconder there to accept the officer's recommendation. Have any dissenting voices, chamber or online, to that decision?
Chair, if I could
I
just
will,
come on
Chair.
here, Patricia Loeb, just to say I temporarily dropped off there and missed the start of the application. So I don't think I'd be able to talk. So that be correct?
Thank you. We'll just record his abstention there. Patricia,
Yeah.
Councillor Gallagher, are you looking in there?
No, Chair, just to say I'm happy enough with the proposal.
Thank you. As members, I believe that's unanimous across the chamber except for one abstention to accept Monarchy's recommendation to refuse. Thank you for that. Listen, it's nearly 4 o'clock. I propose we take a break for 10 minutes and we will be starting at 4:10 again. Thank you. Just gonna move on to number 5 this time, LA 11 bar 2023 bar 1372F. This proposed telecoms installation at Home Bargains retail unit. Malachy's taking us through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Item 5, L11 2023 1372 is a full application for a proposed 5G telecoms installation, which is a 20-metre high street pole, mast and 3 number cabinets and ancillary works in an area of grass verge 40 metres southwest of the roundabout and 37 metres west of Home Bargains retail unit entrance. The area and the recommendation is to refuse. The application site is located within the central area of Derry as defined in the Derry Area Plan. It's on the western side of the Strand Road dual carriageway as you approach the roundabout that where the Colmo Road, Buncrana Road and Strand Road meet. It's on the eastern edge of the footpath and within an area of grass on the other side closer to the road. I suppose the best way to describe it is it's in front of the Home Bargains site for anybody that knows Home Bargains and Strand Road. So there is the grass verge and you have the pathway in front of Home Bargains. And there you can notice the mast here in circle, and then you have the cabinets associated with the mast, I guess. And here's the 2D elevations. Again, it's a 20-metre high mast. Again, and the applicant has provided their justifications in terms of design and finishes relating to the proposed technology and the requirement for height, and they've proposed finishes they integrate with the streetscape. The policy framework is set out in the case officer report. And again, it's covered under the area plan, the PPSs, PPS2, PPS3, PPS10. DCANs 14 and 15 are relevant in terms of supplementary planning guidance, and the draft plan strategy for the residential Strabane 2032 has also been considered. There was 4 objections to this application. The issues and concerns raised are summarised and fully considered in the case officer report. And there, again, there's an outline of concerns presented here in the slides. Impact on public health, failure to consult the local community at pre-application stage, failure to provide detailed specifications, there's a belief that there's adequate provision within the area, the requirement to carry out an EIA, public consultation, no subordinate information in relation to health and environmental risk, and a view that the proposal would be an eyesore. So the policy context is set across the Derry Area Plan, SPPS and PPS 10, and mainly deals with visual impact and impact on character of an area, as well as other associated environmental policy requirements across all our plan and policy statements. Again, for all telecommunication proposals, the applicant is expected to put forward justification in terms of their siting and explains how they have arrived at their site selection process. And in this case, they've advised that a large number of alternative sites in the area were identified, and the reasons given why they were not chosen in this case was that there was insufficient or unsuitable pavement, narrow nature of pavements, high density residential areas, or the presence of existing street service or visibility issues. And again, like all these applications, this one has been expected to have an ICNIRP, and it has been supplied with this application, and we've consulted environmental health, who have looked at that certificate and are satisfied that and in terms of public exposure, there will be they have no objections to the proposal. In terms of amenity, the main land uses surrounding this application site is retail uses or commercial uses, or the closest residential properties would be somewhat away. Suppose it's Farm Park up beyond the roundabout on the Buncrana Road. So given the separation distance and the nature, scale and location of the proposal, officers are satisfied that there be no impacts on residential amenity as a result of the proposed development. We've consulted DFA Roads in relation to access issues. The site, we've been advised the site is included within the proposed western boundary for the A2 Buncrana Road improvement scheme. It says that there was at the time a subsequent in-depth study may result in some changes to position or width of the emerging design, and any such changes will be contained within the grey shaded areas. So this particular site falls within the grey shaded areas. So what the DFA Roads are saying is that needs to be considered as part of the improvement scheme, and any works within it may be prejudiced. So until a detailed design of the A2 Buncrana Road has been completed. And while it's acknowledged that there's the development of a small footprint, they says that there's a cost of relocating the apparatus, and there's other issues in terms of designing the improvement scheme, and this would prejudice that in terms of the proposed phase in order for the scheme. There is no concerns in terms of natural or built heritage, given the location of the site. So officers have considered the draft plan strategy also, and would arrive at no different decision than as recommended here based on the new emerging policies. And so therefore, having considered all the material considerations, including the plan, relevant plan policies, consultations and representations, officers recommend refusal as a proposal is contrary to the SPPS. In particular, there's a paragraph within the SPPS that deals with protecting emerging infrastructure projects and protecting land relating to emerging infrastructure projects. So in this particular case, we believe it would prejudice the implementation of the strategically significant A2 Buncrana Road improvements if this was allowed at its current location. And we've set forward a reason for refusal from the report and before you today, members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Malachy. Just want to check if Mark O'Neill from DFA Roads is online.
Yes, Chair, I'm here. Problems with my microphone earlier. Sorry about that.
That's grand, Mark. So, members, if you have any questions for Mark from DFA Roads, you can go ahead with them now. Is anybody online? Any questions for Mark?
Chair, just one for Malachy. That's more probably out of let me educate myself in relation to these things.
Hold on a second, John. Just want to double check. Nobody's any questions for Malachy or for Mark. My apologies for Mark. Road Service.
I've none from Mark, Chair. No.
Okay, so well, questions then for the officers. Go ahead, John.
Thanks, fair enough. Malachy, I mean, I'm looking at this one, I'm looking at the other two, I mean, all right, they're all different applications, and I get that. But it seems bizarre to me that, you know, there's quite a lot of space around that road network. Would it have been the same case if they had put on an application to move it to the other side of the road, and that obviously the Fort George site as a key infrastructure possibility in years to come as well? Would that have prevented going on that side of the road? Because, you know, I understand a lot of people have concerns about 5G and all of that, but at the same time, you know, this kind of infrastructure is something that people will want as well, because they want, you know, that quality of infrastructure for their mobile networks, etc. So I'm just looking for a view on, you know, when they're trying to cite these things, evidently in this case, you know, they hadn't borne in mind the significance of the Buncrana Road upgrade. Would it have been different if they'd gone to the other side of the road?
For the chair, what's clear here, if given the size of a red line, if they did propose to go to our side of the road to require a new plan application, obviously under a new plan application, we would have to go out to statutory consultees to get their view, and in this case, it would be DFA Roads. So I suppose I can't give an answer on would the same issues arise on the other side of the road, because that would have to go through, I would have to get a consultation response and weigh that up and advise you as an officer if that would be the case. So it would be subject to a new application. So it's, I suppose it's difficult for me to say at this stage, Councillor Wood.
That's grand, Malachy. I thought you might tell me that. It was more out of curiosity anyway, you know, because as I said, you know, this kind of infrastructure is arguably needed in many places, you know, to give people full coverage. But well, we'll wait and see, I suppose. That's grand, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anybody else online? Any questions for Malachy? Doesn't seem to be any further questions. So, members, you have a recommendation there to refuse this application. Can I hand it over to yourselves there now? Councillor O'Neillis.
Garmagat, and I'm happy to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation to refuse this application.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Murphy. Oh, so that's a proposal and a seconder to accept the officer's recommendation. Have any dissenting voices on this?
Happy to support the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you. So,
Happy to support.
thank you.
Likewise.
So that seems unanimous, so accepting the officer's recommendation. Moving on to number 6, LA11 bar 2023, bar 1677F. 5G telecoms installation at Greenhall Avenue, and Malachy is doing this one as well.
Thank you, Chair. Item 6, LA11 2023-1677 is a full application seeking plan permission for proposed 5G telecoms installation, 15 meters height, street pole telecoms mast and cabinets with ancillary works at footpath on the Racecourse Road, opposite and approximately 50 meters west of number 4 Greenhall Avenue, Derry. And the recommendation is to refuse. The application site is located within the development limits of Derry, within the Greater Chantal area, specifically on the Racecourse Road. The application site is located on a footpath, cycleway, which runs along the stretch of the Racecourse Road towards the health centre at the back of St Bridget's Primary School. And to give you, I suppose, give you a better idea in terms of the specific location, it's on the western side of the Racecourse Road, along this wide footpath cycleway. It's opposite a lay-by of a bus shelter and residential property on the other side of the road, and you have St Bridget's School immediately adjacent to it. And the proposed layout, as you can see, is located on the actual footpath cycleway, and the cabinets and the monopole there, as indicated on the attached block plan, and the elevations of the proposed mast are shown here. Also, again, and the applicant has put forward justification for the design and the requirement for the height in relation to 5G masts. The plan and policy is set out within the case officer report, and again, it's a Derry area plan. The SPPS, the PPS 2, 3, and 10, and the draft plan strategy, as well as the decans relating to access and telecommunications, which are 14 and 15. The area plan, the SPPS, and the PPS 10 set out, the policy criteria for decision makers to take into account, whilst acknowledging, the need for telecommunications. This is subject to ensuring that they won't have any adverse impact on the character, and subject to all our environmental policies within the policy framework. In this particular case, the applicant has put forward the reasoning for its site selection within the Chantal area. They've advised that they looked at a large number of alternative sites in the area, and they've given their reasons why they were not chosen. These included insufficient or unsuitable pavements, narrow nature of pavements, high density residential areas, presence of existing street services, visibility display issues, or overhead cables being impediments. They have submitted a declaration of conformity known as an ICNIRP with their application in terms of dealing with public exposure, and environmental health have viewed this and have advised they have no objections to the application. In terms of amenity, the nearest residential properties are the other side of the Racecourse Road at Greenhall Road. There'll be no noise issues arising from the proposed mast or its ancillary cabinets. There'll be no issues in terms of creating, so I suppose, an unbearable impact in terms of the actual structures themselves, given the nature of them. And so officers have considered that on balance that there'll be no issues in terms of amenity arising from the proposed telecommunication mast at this location. We've also looked at natural heritage and environmental considerations, and given the site and the nature of the proposal, its location, there's no supposed natural heritage features or bulk heritage features that this will impact on, and are satisfied that the proposal meets the criteria set out in these relevant policies. We've consulted DFA Roads in relation to the impact of the proposed mass in terms of both pedestrians and road users, and other users of pavements such as cyclists and wheelchair users. So DFA Roads have no objection in principle to this type of proposal. However, they said the location of this mast and its equipment is not acceptable. The DFA Roads, as it narrows the width of an existing public footway and cycleway. They say that it should be located that the proposed cabinets are set back so the open doors do not encroach onto the public footway and cycleway. They're saying that the footpath measures approximately 3.3 meters in depth. The proposed monopole and cabinets have a maximum depth of 0.73, approximately 1.63 meters with the cabinet doors open, and a combined width of approximately 5 meters. And they're saying that this will have a negative impact on non-motorized users at this location. And they supposedly support their view in this. They have given us information on terms of what the minimum desirable width of a cycleway footway is, and that's contained in the design manual document known as the DMRB, and set out the minimum width of a cycleway footway is 5 meters, 3 meters for the cycleway, 2 meters for the footway. And they're saying that there's an absolute minimum dimension for 3 meters, so that the minimum would be based on 1.5 for each. So when we look at this particular proposal, combined width as the proposed location is currently 3.3 meters. Listen, the equipment will reduce this to 2.57 with the doors closed and 1.87 with the doors open. So I suppose this will take it down below the minimum width of 3 meters. And given the figure set out, this minimum width cannot be achieved at this location if the equipment is placed here. And again, they've also looked at another issue in terms of the particular siting of the application, and this relates to emerging traffic from the shops located at Racecourse Road. You have a significant amount of traffic using the shops and other facilities at Racecourse Road. And DFA Road are advising if the cabinets are located at this particular point on the footpath that it will impinge and restrict visibility for users exiting the Racecourse Road shop site. And as such, will be contrary to policy AMP2, as it would prejudice road safety because of the impact on visibility emerging from those shops. Officers have looked at the draft plan strategy, and similar to our cases, would not, in the judgment, justify a different recommendation being made than which has been set out in our consideration of the current planning policy framework. So having considered all the material considerations, including the plan, relevant policies, consultations, We're recommending refusal on the grounds that it would prejudice safety based on the road service, the road DFA roads recommendation. The site select is not considered to be acceptable from a public safety perspective and will adversely affect road safety, and it would also, if permitted, result in an unacceptable narrowing of a footway and cycleway, thereby prejudicing the free flow of pedestrians, cyclists and non-motorised users at this locality. And as such, the officers are supporting DFA road recommendation and have weighed this up and have recommended refusal based on the 2 refusal reasons as set out in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Malachy. And Mark from DFA Roads is still online if anybody has any questions for him. Anybody online, any questions for Mark? No questions for you, Mark. Thank you for attending online today. Members, any questions for Malachy or any officers? Councillor Murphy?
Not a question, Chair. Just a proposal.
Just I'll just check if there's any questions for any officers. Go ahead with your proposal.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Malachy, again. I'd just like to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor O'Neill is seconded. So that's a proposal there from Councillor Murphy, second by Councillor O'Neill, to accept the officer's recommendation. Any dissenting voices on that one? No, we'll take it that it's unanimous. Accepting the officer's recommendation. That brings our meeting to a close today. Thank you to all the council staff and officers and to members for attending your work today. Safe home. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.